Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Knowledge Toolkit. Today's explainer is a highly tactical, uncompromising breakdown of exactly why the traditional job search is officially, irreversibly dead. We are going to completely deconstruct the outdated mechanics of how people look for work right now. Because look, if you are still operating with the old playbook, you aren't just wasting your time, you are actively making yourself invisible to the exact decision makers who actually have the power to hire you. So let's dive into the architecture of the new market. Right now, as we speak, 80% of job seekers are flushing their careers down the drain. They're doing this by blindly applying to 50 jobs a day in a system that absolutely no longer rewards blind effort. The reality is, the modern algorithm actively penalizes high-volume, low-strategy effort. Sure, when you sent out hundreds of resumes with a single click, it gives you a temporary dopamine hit. It feels like you're being productive. But the brutal underlying truth is that you are competing against highly sophisticated, automated applicant tracking systems that are designed specifically to bury volume. And this comparison right here brilliantly illustrates the massive, gaping canyon between 2010 application tactics and the hyper-automated 2026 market. 10 years ago, sheer effort equaled output. Today, effort without precision optimization equals total erasure. Think about the fundamental economic principle of supply and demand. When absolutely everyone on the internet can apply to a highly lucrative corporate job in 3 seconds flat from their smartphone, the intrinsic value of that application drops to exactly zero. You are throwing a single drop of water into a raging ocean and expecting someone to notice the splash. It's just not going to happen. Section 1. The broken hiring algorithm. We really need to pull back the curtain on how modern human resources operates on the back end, because the hiring process itself is fundamentally broken. Standard corporate recruiters deeply lack the technical nuance to truly understand the advanced roles they are tasked with filling. If you're a senior software engineer, a data analyst, or a high-level finance expert, the human being screening your resume has likely never worked a single day in finance or tech. They literally do not know the technical difference between advanced predictive modeling and a basic Excel pivot table. Because they lack this depth, non-technical recruiters are forced to rely entirely on scanning their software dashboards for specific broad keywords, terms like AI innovation, revenue growth, and automation. These are the only recognized signals of success that trigger a green light on their candidate management software. If your highly technical resume doesn't manually hand-feed them these exact broad terms, their dashboard scores you as a low match. And just like that, you are filtered out by someone who couldn't even do 10% of the job you're applying for. So what does this actually mean for you? It means you must execute a massive psychological shift. To win today, you have to completely stop being a job hunter who is essentially begging for a chance to be reviewed. You have to start operating as a targeted, strategic asset designed specifically to trigger cognitive biases in the interviewer's brain. A job hunter asks for value, a strategic asset arrives already possessing leverage, offering undeniable corporate value from second one. Section 2. The Nike ad strategy. Think about how modern digital marketing works with sneaker ads. When you research a pair of shoes online, you don't just see them once. You close the browser, and suddenly you see targeted ads for those exact shoes on Instagram, then as banner ads on news sites, then as sponsored posts on Facebook. You see them everywhere until their presence in your life becomes completely normal, fully trusted, and eventually, you buy them. You must manually apply this exact psychology of product retargeting to your professional brand. Here is the multi-step framework. First, identify 10 to 15 specific target brands. Second, find the director-level executives at those brands who actually control the budgets. Third, when that director posts an update about their team's latest logistical challenge, do not just leave a generic comment saying "great post." You must provide a highly targeted 2-sentence analytical solution. Engaging daily like this builds trusted, high-value familiarity before an application is ever formally filed. Decision-makers see your name over and over again in a context of high-level problem-solving. But here is the exact trap most people fall into. They apply before they have a contact. Let me explain the mechanics of why this guarantees failure. A candidate sees a job listing, their anxiety spikes, they immediately click submit just to relieve that tension, and their profile drops directly to the bottom of a stack of 3,000 other desperate applicants. You have just thrown away all of your leverage. By executing that director-level outreach we just talked about first, you target the exact people who feel the daily operational pain of a short-staffed team. Unlike low-level recruiters who receive hundreds of desperate emails an hour, a VP of finance might only get 2 or 3 messages a week. Reach out to them directly as a peer offering a solution, and you bypass the HR gatekeepers entirely. Section 3. Mastering the Halo Effect. In a moment, I'll reveal the specific silent tests managers use to judge your confidence before you even speak. But first, you have to master the halo effect. This is the foundational psychological engineering where the in-person or on-camera interview is actually won or lost. The halo effect is a powerful cognitive bias. It dictates that if an interviewer likes one highly visible, confident thing about you early on, their brain will subconsciously assume they like everything else about your background. It essentially projects a halo of absolute competence over your entire resume. Conversely, if you stumble, if you ramble chronologically like a boring audio version of your resume, or if you show deep insecurity in those first 2 minutes, they are going to view your entire technical background through a permanent lens of doubt. That chronological rambling must be immediately replaced with concise, highly engineered sound bites. And this quote brilliantly illustrates exactly how you lock in that halo effect using the 20-word rule. Most people give a vague, generic introduction. They'll sit down and say, "I am an award-winning author with 10 years of experience in corporate communications." That is completely dead weight. Instead, you transform it into a precise 20-word rule statement like this. "I help new authors get published faster by automating their editing workflows and identifying hidden market gaps." That demonstrates immediate, undeniable corporate value.
Let's dissect the psychological shift that just happened there. By changing your narrative from a chronological history of your past to a targeted statement about their future return on investment, you instantly change the entire room's focus from about me to about you. You aren't pitching your personal history anymore. You are pitching their future ROI. You are actively solving their pain points in the very first 20 seconds of the conversation.
Section 4. Decoding the flight risk. Once you establish that initial value, you step into a total minefield. I need to warn you about the immense danger of being honest during interviews. Standard interview questions are almost never just conversational filler. They're deeply coded corporate risk assessments, designed specifically to find reasons to eliminate you. Let's analyze this specific classic query. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? If you sit in that chair and answer honestly about your personal dreams of going back to grad school, or traveling the globe, or eventually spinning off to start your own independent consulting business, you have unequivocally failed the test. They absolutely do not care about your personal journey of self-actualization. They're running a cold financial risk algorithm on your head. And here is the exact economic reality behind that algorithm. Look at the typical 3-year profitability timeline. In year 1, you are a financial drain due to corporate training and onboarding. In year 2, you are finally mastering their specific internal infrastructure. It is not until year 3 that you hit genuine profitability for the organization. If you leave in year 2 to go pursue grad school, they have lost tens of thousands of dollars on your recruitment and training. That is the literal math of why companies are terrified of flight risks. Therefore, claiming you will be an indispensable expert right there in that specific role, driving long-term efficiency for their exact department, is the only correct answer. Section 5, the silent composure test. Let's talk about the physical environment. When a hiring manager offers you a glass of water or a cup of coffee at the start of a meeting, do not assume they're just trying to be a polite host. They're deliberately offering you a prop to serve as a baseline composure gauge under extreme psychological pressure. Let's deeply analyze the mechanics of the 2-second sip. When you're under fire, if you are too nervous to take a single sip, or if your hands have visible tremors when lifting the cup, it broadcasts an immediate lack of emotional control and situational awareness. However, if you use a deliberate, calm sip right after they drop a complex, high-stakes question, you completely rewrite the room's power dynamic. You force them to wait for you. It breaks their momentum and provides undeniable physical proof that you do not panic under fire. You own the pacing. This deliberate physical control must lead directly into your verbal control. Walk with me step by step through the SEAT method for introductions. SEAT stands for skills, experience, achievements, and type. This data-dense framework ensures you stay intensely focused on your technical abilities, your relevant history, your quantifiable data, and the exact type of problem-solving persona you embody under pressure. It provides undeniable proof of competence over empty cliches, and it utterly prevents you from rambling. Immediately following SEAT, when they pivot to behavioral questions, you transition instantly into the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. This is a hard data approach. Never ever answer a question using an overused empty corporate cliché like, "I'm a perfectionist who just works too hard." That contains absolutely zero empirical proof. You must define the exact crisis you faced, the specific charge you were given, the strategic remedy you built, and the result, anchored entirely in hard data. You must frame your history exactly as a data scientist would. Look at these metrics. Did you reduce processing times by 24%? Did you step in and safeguard a client account worth $2 million? Emphasize the absolute necessity of these hard numbers.
Because the brutal truth of the 2026 market is this: if you cannot quantify your past experience with precise metrics, both the software algorithm and the hiring manager will assume it simply never happened.
Section 6. Creating a commitment lock. As the interview draws to a close, you face one last critical juncture. You cannot just shake hands, say thank you, and hope for the best. You must secure tangible leverage before you walk out the door by asking about their exact next steps and highly specific timelines. Doing this establishes what psychologists call a commitment lock. Human psychology is deeply hardwired to avoid cognitive dissonance. When you aggressively but politely guide an interviewer into stating a specific deadline out loud directly to you, their brain will subconsciously fight to stay consistent with that stated timeline, just to maintain internal harmony. This psychological lock transforms you from being a passive, anxious candidate waiting by the phone into a highly active, priority project locked directly onto the hiring manager's immediate calendar. So, you have to ask yourself, are you still playing the lottery with a generic resume, or are you finally ready to engineer your leverage? Getting the offer is only half the battle. Protecting your financial value once they want you is the other. I drop daily breakdowns just like this to help you automate your systems. Hit subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's cheat code. Tomorrow, we are diving deep into the back end of corporate finance, breaking down the exact salary negotiation scripts that ex-Google recruiters use to completely bypass lowball initial offers and secure massive signing bonuses. Stay tuned, protect your value, and I'll see you in tomorrow's explainer.